Jamie, here at the VIP gym, getting a sense of deja vu, doing the same intro 3 times, but I don't think anyone minds. Carl Frampton, last time we spoke to you a few weeks ago, you were quite keen on Oscar Valdez being the, at the moment, unnamed champion in the other corner at Windsor Park in August. Is that still the case? And from your insider knowledge, who's likely to be in the other corner?
I've not heard anything else from the Valdez situation since the last time I spoke to his management team about it. So I don't really know whether he's going to be fit or whether, you know, the jaw's healed up. I've seen videos that he's back in the gym, so fingers crossed he is in the mix for it. But I've just been watching the press conference live. Actually, I was just waiting for you guys for Warrington Selby, and they're both saying that they want to come to Windsor Park and fight Carl. So he's a wanted man, and you know, like I said to you, I think Valdez is more marketable, and not just. I'm not talking in this country. I think the Selby or Warrington is definitely more sellable over here. But I think on the worldwide stage, where Carl's well known in America, I think the Valdez fight is a great show. I think it'd be bigger on American TV as well as over here. So it doesn't really, to me, honestly, the form Carl's in and the mindset he's in at the minute, I really have no issue with whoever's in the opposite corner. He's in great form, and I think that if Selby wins, it's an awkward night, but I think it's just, it brings different problems, but I think all three of the opponents what we're talking about, I think Carl deals with them. I think Valdez is physically a tougher fight, yet tactically it's an easier fight to navigate. I think Selby's more of a sort of coping with frustration sort of fight and making yourself work hard and manoeuvring him into different situations, but I don't think it's physically as hard a fight. Josh Warrington would be sort of similar to Valdez in that sense, and we'd have to sort of, I'll not give too many things away, but we'd have to do a few little slight adjustments compared to someone like Valdez. But I think that all three of those fights, to me, in my book, Carl wins, and he wins them quite handily, but they all bring their own little problems.
Selby Warrington's this weekend. Simple question: who wins and how?
Do you know, everyone I speak to all think that it's a walk in the park for Selby. You know, most people I've spoke to who've asked me the same question, they say, "Oh, I think Selby wins it easy. You know, he'll box him from the outside. He's too long, he's too rangy." And I think that will happen early on. I think for the first couple of rounds, 2, 3, maybe 4 rounds, he'll just sort of box him from the outside. But Josh Warrington, because he's not a big puncher, he's got a phenomenal work rate. And fighters like that, because they don't rely on one shot, they're busy. And I think I've got, you know, Lee Selby's a big featherweight, so it's got to hurt him to get down to the weight. And somebody who's tight at the weight, you rarely get somebody who's tight at the weight who can fight at a high pace for 12 rounds. So if Josh Warrington can establish himself early on, make him work hard for them 4 rounds, I think by the midpoint he can be in the fight. I've got to be honest, I think by the end of the fight it's going to be a close fight. I think Selby will win by a point or 2, but you know, the crowd could influence the judges in that sense. It could be a close fight. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's a draw. So, you know, my head's telling me Selby wins, but in a close fight, but you know, it could go either way. In
a way, a draw is the worst possible result for Frampton.
It's the worst for Frampton because, you know, if Selby wins, then he comes into the fight with a world title and, you know, a lot of credit.
And coming off a big away performance
if
in
Warrington
the stadium.
Wins, he's the new hometown hero, and yet he's going to be willing to travel to Windsor Park and defend his title on away territory, so he comes out with a load of credit as well. And if Carl beats him, he's then beat the man who beat the man. So if it's a draw, he's going to be fighting Lee Selby, who's just scraped through the draw, who's been telling everyone who can't fight. And if Josh Warrington, you know, depending on the scenario, could be saying he's got a hometown decision, and then he's coming away to, you know, it's not a great scenario. So I'd hate to think that.
So you're hoping you're wrong, basically.
So, yeah, but as I said, I'm quite happy for him to fight any of the 3 people we've mentioned, because at the moment Carl Frampton's in the form of his life, and I'd pick him against anyone at featherweight.
When's he back at the gym?
We start training in Tenerife, so I'm off to Tenerife on Monday with Martin Murray and Rocky Fielding, and then Carl meets us out there on Saturday, and he'll do 10 days over there with us to start his training.
So he had a tough first fight with you, which he came through, and then he had a very impressive performance against the Nito Donaire.
Yeah.
Is he going to step up another level now for August?
Yep, definitely. I think I went and had a meeting yesterday, so we've been doing a lot of training down at the Institute of Performance in Manchester, where he has his strength coach down there, nutritionist. We have the altitude chamber down there, so a lot of his training and the preparation for his training he's done down there with them. You know, there's a lot of science behind it, but the best part of that situation is they understand that the boxing comes first. You know, you get these strength and conditioners who try and take over the full training, which I've always been a big no-no for me. But you know, they work well with us, and the conversation what we had yesterday was along the lines of, we've only just scratched the surface in terms of where we can take Carl to physically. You know, he was in much better shape last time than he was the first fight we had together, but we only had 7 weeks-ish to prepare for the first one. And also, we've got to be honest, I've got to sound like a smart ass here, but we did say to him, that's a tough fight, Garcia, if your first one back, you know, 11 months out, big, strong Mexican, never been stopped, 10 rounds, you know, you lose a little bit of ring fitness when you've been out that for that amount of time, and he was always going to be tough for the second half of the fight, and I thought Carl looked brilliant for 4 rounds, and then he just got involved, got dragged into a fight on the inside and made it a tough fight for himself. And you know, I said to him straight away, this fight is going to stand you in better stead for the next fight. And if you look at the performance against Donaire, he knew that if he switched off from the tactics and went away from it, I kept reminding him during training, remember what happened last time when you got dragged in, don't make the same mistake again. And he didn't, he performed great. We had a plan of trying to push Donaire, push him physically. So if you watch the fight back a few times when he went on the front foot, pushed him to the ropes, worked his body, I kept saying to him, just keep giving him a nudge and see how he is physically. Once you start to feel him tire, or there's not the same snap in his shots, then we can start to go for it then. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come. Just keep boxing him and just keep getting the points, stacking the points up. And every time he came back and I asked him, you know, how's he feeling? He said, no, he's still there. He's still got spine in his punches. So I said, don't set the wrist then. If you don't need to, you win the fight handily. So tactically, it was spot on. But I think the part of the reason why he carried the tactics through so well in that fight was because of the experience from the Garcia fight. So there's never a wrong. There's only, you know, there's lessons took from that fight, and you know, people, he got a lot of criticism for it, and I think people understood the situation what he was going through with you know, he'd left his trainer and his management team, and there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but it wasn't like it was kept behind doors. People knew about it, so I think he got an unfair flack leading after that performance, and in one way though, it fired him because he made sure that he didn't make sort of any mistakes tactically and in the gym. But moving forward, you know, they were saying to me yesterday, you can see from a trainer's point of view the improvements what was made, but we can actually sit here and show you on paper. We've tested him at the beginning, in the middle and at the end, and the progress what he made was unbelievable. And they said, and we know that we can take him further than that. So Shwent, you stick to the boxing side of it, we'll stick to the science side of it, and together we'll create a machine, and that's what we're on the way to doing it.
Brilliant. Cheers, Jamie.